Okay, let's be upfront. People of my generation, and whatever generation you are, I joined the church at 18. But there was some weird stuff taught in church, in classes, and so on over the years. Now, I don't mean by the brethren, I don't mean these were official things, but we would pick things up in class that became part of church culture, and then we would incorporate that into our teaching. We need to get this right. Um, and establish what is right and what is wrong. So, for example, let's take the translation of the Book of Mormon. Joseph Smith did use a seer stone. He did use a hat, although it makes perfect sense when we find historical context of what was going on. He did not use the Urim and Thummim to translate the Book of Mormon. Now, let me qualify what I'm saying. To translate the entire Book of Mormon, the Urim and Thummim was involved. Seer stone was involved, a hat was involved. Sometimes he didn't use any of those things. And we don't know, by the way, a lot. There's most of the translation process, we actually don't know what really went on. In fact, Joseph Smith himself didn't speak a lot about it, and he always said it was by the power of God. However, you and I need to understand what actually happened, because our teenagers are growing up in a world where all of this information is available, a lot of correct information and a lot of incorrect information. And as you and I know, people can use even correct information and twist it to make it sound like it's something bad. Now, we do not have to be experts. Can I make just this quite clear? You and I do not have to be experts. Let's take another one, race and the priesthood. Now, I know as an 18-year-old joined a church, and in my early years in the church, I know the general impression I was given at church in general about race and the priesthood. And some of those things were completely incorrect. Again, I want to make it clear, I'm not faulting the church itself. I'm talking about on a local church level, but across the world. And unless particular things were said one way, people would just believe something unless they were told it was different. The church now is far more transparent and far more bold about stating what's right and wrong. And we need to get this right. Now, again, I'm not saying you don't have it right. I'm simply saying if you don't, you need to get it right. You do not need to be an expert. The gospel topics essays are, I think the church has done a fantastic job with them, because they're hitting head on some of the hard issues in the church. These are academic articles written under the direction of the First Presidency. In general, they're written by academics, trusted academics in the church, but under the direction of the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12. So we can take them as being official documents that help to establish what the church teaches today. So, for example, if you've not read the article on race in the priesthood and you're not familiar with these principles, you're going to be pretty blown away by what they state. And you need to get this right, especially in your teaching. Now, again, I want to emphasize, you and I do not have to be experts. You should know where the gospel topics essays are, scan through them and be familiar with them, so that when topics come up, you know where to go to get a definitive answer, a definitive official answer from the church. DNA in the Book of Mormon, be aware of it. You don't have to be an expert in DNA, so please don't be scared off by these articles. If you need any help, please let me know. I'm very, very happy to help, particularly with our one-to-one chats on Zoom. We can chat about things like this. If you have any concerns or questions, all I'm simply saying is be familiar with the gospel topics essays, and are mentioned in the written training segments. Be familiar with where to find them, at least have a general idea. Another one would be Joseph Smith and people he married. Did he marry a 14-year-old girl? And if he did marry a 14-year-old girl, what was all that about? And, plural marriage and so on. You need to get this right. Why? Because you and I are teachers representing the church, and we are influencing young people. And Boyd K. Packer once said, and I'm paraphrasing it, he basically said, understanding doctrine incorrectly is not the problem. It's teaching it to others is the problem. So it's fine if I have something not clear in my head, but when I start teaching definitively to young people as if I know what I'm talking about, many of these are impressed with this, and years later they still believe what I taught them. Please don't worry about what you teach. You don't have to stop teaching until you have everything perfect before you teach again. Of course not. I just simply teach, but I'm conscious about what I'm teaching, and I'm particularly careful when I am being definitive. And in other words, being definite about something, being very authoritative. Am I correct? Do I know how to lay a hold upon official church curriculum statements that back up what I'm saying? So become familiar with the Gospel Topics essays. If you're into that kind of thing, you can study them in great detail, but at least be familiar with them so that you can enhance your teaching and answer good questions when they're asked by your students. And if you can't answer them on the spot, you'll know where to go to.